to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app to be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. In the main watch today, the African Caribbean Summit. Is there a return to roots? In the second watch, the Floyd Green resignation. In our social media question, we asked, do you think it was enough for Floyd Green to resign? What else, if anything, do you think should have happened? Share your responses in our Facebook and YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on the program, but first, here's our quote. Listen, well, I'll take it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. African proverb indeed. The main watch. We'll be back after this break.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is advising the public that effective Wednesday, September 15, 2021, it will postpone the administration of the Pfizer vaccine. The postponement comes as Jamaica awaits the arrival of a second shipment of the Pfizer vaccine, which is expected in the coming weeks. The WHO recommendations on administration of Pfizer second doses give consideration to the second dose being given 3 to 6 weeks after the first dose and up to 12 weeks in some instances. The ministry, meanwhile, is continuing to administer the other 2-dose vaccine, AstraZeneca, and the single-dose vaccine, Johnson & Johnson. Members of the public are encouraged to get vaccinated to protect themselves from severe illness, hospitalization, and/or death. That was a message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Don't miss this opportunity to earn international and local certificates in just 1 month at Distinction College. Register now and start our super easy program from March 20 to April 24. Get qualified in geriatric and pediatric nursing, phlebotomy, housekeeping and call center, customer service, business admin, receptionist, supervisory management, cashiering, childcare, and nail technology. No subjects required, no age limit, no interest test. Register this week and get 10 to 25% discounts on all courses. Call 876-356-4167 or 876-354-8560. Visit us in Kingston, Spanish Town, Ocho or St. Elizabeth.
There is an easy way for insurance coverage today. With no line in your way. All you have to say is
Genac.com. Everything you have is everything you have. So keep your assets covered and save 10% off your insurance when you renew by visiting Genac.com. You don't need to go into a branch. You can do just about everything online at Genac.com. Remember, smart insurance saves. Who knows what tomorrow brings? So future-proof everything.
insurance on the go. Trust the brand that you know.
Genac.com.
All you have to say is Genac.com.
General Accident Insurance Company. Future-proofing tomorrow.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the main watch, and it has been in the making for some time, and we did, in fact, have the African Caribbean Summit. It was done virtually, and the theme was unity across continents and oceans, opportunities for deepening integration. And there were presentations from several heads of state and prime ministers, and CARICOM participated in it. Now, what was decided and what was said well, we wait to see what happens going forward. However, what is of interest is that the church also took an interest. Our guests for this segment, we have Ambassador Janice Miller, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and we also have Reverend Dr. Stephen Jennings, pastor of the Mona Baptist Church. Good morning, Reverend Jennings, and good morning, Ambassador Miller. How are you both?
Good morning. Fine, thank you. And you?
Great. I'm well. Ambassador Miller? Not sure if we are hearing the ambassador as yet.
Good morning, Mr. Marshall. Good morning, Reverend Jennings. Good to be here.
Good morning.
Great having both of you. Good morning again, Ambassador Miller, Reverend Jennings.
Hearing you.
We seem to have had a technical issue there, a technical challenge there, yes.
Good morning.
Yes, great having you both on as I indicated. Ambassador Miller, what was the summit about and why at this time?
Good morning again, everyone, and it's good to be here. And greetings to all who are listening and who are joining us on your various streaming platforms. So as you mentioned, the summit was held on the 7th of September, and it was held virtually. And the theme itself, as you indicated, unity across continents and oceans, opportunities for deepening integration, spoke to the interest of both Africa and CARICOM in joining together, even though we are separated by geographic space. So the objective of this historic summit was to reaffirm the bonds of ancestry and friendship between Africa and CARICOM. It also provided the opportunity for a demonstration of political will, allowing the political leaders of both sides to come together to speak about a formal establishment of a foundation of partnership between Africa and CARICOM, leading to stronger socioeconomic and political engagements. Another objective was to serve as a launching pad for institutional linkages between Africa and the Caribbean, especially among the secretariats of the African Union and the CARICOM Secretariat, and so that they would be able, both Africa and CARICOM, would be able to confront the multifaceted challenges that face both regions at this time. And so it will also allow for the both regions to work together on issues including the COVID-19 pandemic, on which there is already some cooperation, and also dealing with other challenges, including climate change. You have asked, Mr. Marshall, why was it done at this time? And I should just indicate that, of course, as we know, the linkages between Africa and CARICOM have gone are very long and deep, predating independence from the days of Pan-Africanism. But we also have a situation where countries, independent countries in CARICOM and in Africa, have been having a series of bilateral and other engagements over many years. So in this respect, this summit was very long in the making, and it followed on a decision taken by the African Union in 2020, also collaborated with the heads of government of CARICOM at their intersessional meeting, when they also decided that they would have more sustained engagement at the political level. So the summit should have been held much earlier, but the pandemic intervened, unfortunately. So the dates to have the summit were not possible. And so it should have been in a more, hopefully it would have been at a face-to-face, but that could not be possible. So CARICOM heads of government were very pleased to accept the offer from the President of Kenya, President Kenyatta, to host this historic summit, which took place on the 7th of September.
I see. Reverend Stephen Jennings, sir, the church has been showing an interest in matters pertaining to Africa, certainly in recent times. Why would you say that that is so, and how does it strike you that we had this summit?
Well, thank you very much again for inviting us to be here. And I want to start by responding to the fact that it is the church showing interest in recent time. The truth is the Christian community has been interested and in this for many centuries, in fact many years, 2 centuries at least. You know historically that many people were enslaved in Africa and brought to the Caribbean, and in a place like Jamaica, many people who came here could trace back their roots to places like Nigeria, what we now call Nigeria, and Ghana and the Congo. If you could see me, you would know that I have on a shirt of the Calabar High School. Now I happen to be a past student of that institution, but I put it on this morning because Calabar High School was in fact a successor school in some respects to the Calabar College, which eventually became part of UTC. And Calabar College was a theological college that was founded in 1843 by Black Baptists and others to go back to Africa to share the Christian gospel. It was also a teacher's college, and so it was for teachers to be trained as well to go back to Africa to help build institutions in Africa. And Calabar itself is named for a place in Nigeria.
If I could come in here, Reverend Jennings, if I could come in here, Reverend Jennings, I am reminded that there's a Calabar in Nigeria too.
Which is where I'm going with this. It was named after Calabar in East Nigeria. And it's because of the connection between Jamaica and the Caribbean and Africa, why that happened. So I've gone that circumlocutor's route to explain that from as early as 1843 and before, Black people had an interest to go back to their motherland, to their homeland, to connect. Now, we might, question some of the things they did, but that is there. More recently, the church, segments of the church had a Christian Diaspora conference in 2018, I believe it was, where again the links were between the Caribbean and their diasporas, and recognizing that the Caribbean itself is a diaspora of Africa. So people from Africa came over and were part of that conference. We shared with people from Zimbabwe, from Kenya, from Uganda, from Nigeria, Ghana, and so on. And we shared about how together we can work together, not just to do things about religion, but things like economic activities, business, how we can work to build cultural institutions, and so on. So this is not a new thing. In fact, the church's role anticipates what this summit has been about, and we hope that in the future we too will be a part of whatever is worked out between CARICOM and the African Union, because it naturally we should be a part of it. 90% of Jamaicans are descended from Africans.
Well, we are going to hear from you more. We're going to hear more from both of you after the break. We're heading to a break now. Stay with us, listeners. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
You're listening to Family Radio Love 101. The time on the family station, it's now 7:16.
There are a million reasons to want to own a home.
I want more space for the children.
I am tired of paying rent.
My wife and I want an investment.
Go from future plans to keys in hand with an NCB mortgage. Get rates as low as 6.95%, 100% financing, and up to 40 years to repay. Plus, get the life insurance and home insurance you need all in one place. Visit myhome.jncb.com to get started. Conditions apply.
49 years later and still going strong. Under the Law helps you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. The program is brought to you on Mondays by the Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy. Under the Law, Mondays at 6:20 a.m., 2:55, 6:45, and then 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
There is an easy way for insurance coverage today. Putting down line in your way. All you have to say is
Genac.com. Everything you have is everything you have. So keep your assets covered and save 10% off your insurance when you renew by visiting Genac.com. You don't need to go into a branch. You can do just about everything online at GENAC.com. Remember, smart insurance saves. Who knows what tomorrow brings? So future-proof everything.
insurance on the go. Trust the brand that you know.
GENAC.com.
All you have to say is Genac.com.
General Accident Insurance Company. Future-proofing tomorrow.
Shake and go with two shake. Shake and go. Grab a two shake and go. When me have to put in the work, but I'm moving slow. Grab a two shake and go. School time and on job time, have to study hard, brain full time. Grab a two shake and go. When we up in the gym, we have to stay healthy and fit. Grab a two shake and go. Shake and go with two shake. Packed with 9 grams of protein, 24 key vitamins and minerals to keep you going. Grab a two shake and go.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the main watch, and the topic is the African Caribbean Summit. Is there a return to roots? And our guest for this segment, we have Ambassador Janice Miller of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and Reverend Dr. Stephen Jennings, pastor, Mona Baptist Church, and past president of the Jamaica Baptist Union. Now, Ambassador Miller, if you could assist us, please, how might the average citizen of Jamaica likely benefit from this, well, from the renewed connection, we could say, to Africa in regard to this very recent summit and other matters related thereto? For example, in business, in education, in the very practical day-to-day affairs of life, how might this connection affect, in a positive way, the average citizen? Ambassador Miller?
Okay. Thank you. I should indicate as well that in addition to what has been happening at the bilateral level, Jamaica and Jamaicans, we have also been benefiting from the many agreements and discussions that we've been having with Africa in various different fora, including in the United Nations. In fact, there is now an established mechanism for the African permanent representatives and the CARICOM permanent representatives to have more sustained dialogue on issues that affect both regions, as well as within the Commonwealth, as well as within the what used to be the African and Caribbean Pacific Group of Countries, which is now the Organization of African and Caribbean Pacific States. And I mentioned these because these multilateral engagements have helped to consolidate the foundations for increased trade and investment, and in other areas, people-to-people contacts and social engagement between our two regions. So one of the outcomes of the summit was in fact that the leaders lauded the recently coming into force of the African Union Continental Free Trade Agreement, which will serve to drive a further development through increased trade and investment across Africa, and which also opens up opportunities for business links and investment with the diaspora, especially in the Caribbean. Reverend Jennings mentioned about the diaspora, and I'd also like to mention as well that there was in 2012 African Caribbean Diaspora Summit Conference, which also helped to reinforce these links. And in terms of the specifics, as we know, Africa, the African continent as a whole, due to the decisions taken by the African Union, it is one of the areas that will be poised for growth in the years to come. And so this will open up for investment. Already we do have individuals and companies that have invested in Africa. I'd also like to recall that the African Union, through its African Medical Supplies Platform, was very instrumental in providing support to the Jamaica and CARICOM during the COVID pandemic, including through the provision of vaccines, which were able to be purchased through the African Medical Supplies Platform. There also exist opportunities for the government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and in collaboration with other agencies, we have embarked on a very active economic diplomacy program, which allows for more avenues to be explored in terms of investment and in terms of exploring more linkages for trade between Jamaica, CARICOM, and Africa. We recognize that more discussion and dialogue needs to be had, especially in terms of improving transportation linkages between the two regions, because at the moment, these are not as strong as we would wish. We had last...
Ambassador Miller, if I could interject, I mean, in terms of direct flight?
Well, yes, this was one of the areas that was highlighted in the summit, and in fact is reflected in the communique, to have more direct transportation linkages. And we've already seen how this could come about. Last December, Jamaica was very pleased and honored to have welcomed the first the first direct flight from Lagos to Montego Bay, which was very significant for a number of reasons. And this non-stop flight had, it was part of the celebrations of the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Jamaica and Nigeria, but it also showed the potential and the opportunities for increased linkages in terms of tourism, travel, opening up for more collaboration in areas such as education and sport, and in so many different areas where we can help to reinforce and strengthen the linkages and to unlock the potential that can exist in this relationship.
Very interesting. Reverend Jennings, you would regard that flight that Ambassador Miller referred to as perhaps one of the most positive transatlantic flights or as it were, movements across the Atlantic Ocean in history. Would you regard it that way, Reverend Jennings? Taking into consideration,
well, from a symbolic point of view, yes, Brother Stokely. From a symbolic point of view, because this time Africans were coming over voluntarily, and they free will, you know, they wanted to be here, and it, as Ambassador Miller just said, it is really a sign of things to come. The hope is that that can be sustained. It has been happening fragmentarily, obviously, in terms of people going back and forth. That's been going so for many centuries. But in terms of between governments and between formal peoples, yes, this is surely a signal moment.
Indeed. Reverend Jennings, will this summit, in your view, assist in the initiative to seek reparations from Europe in terms of Europeans who enslaved Africans? And a little bit on the controversial side, and even reparations from Africa, in the sense that some Africans, regrettably at the material times, took part in the trade that caused the enslavement of other Africans. Reverend Jennings, any thoughts on that?
Well, let's deal with the one between Africa and Europe. There is, in fact, a desire, and I think I read it somewhere in terms of the summary of the conference, the summit, that for Africa and the African Union and the Caribbean, CARICOM, to work together in dialoguing with Europe and other places that enslaved African descended people and Africans. And so there is going to be that, I believe, in some dialogue that will be joint as a result of that. And certainly what Ambassador spoke about at the UN, that would be definitely so. I think in terms of reparation from Africans, you would have to recognize that the Africans who took part in the transatlantic slave trade were for the most part forced by Europeans to do so. They were armed and they were themselves under superior arms and forced to enslave their own brothers and sisters for their own survival. And yet there is a recognition that wrong has taken place. And in fact, in that Christian Diaspora conference he spoke about, there were people from Africa who came and who not just apologized, but in the name of those brothers and sisters, repented and asked for the forgiveness of the brothers and sisters from the Caribbean. And they read they came, they read a long thing from a particular tribes and places in Africa, and wept, and we wept. There was not a single one of us in the room who were not touched. And this was the Jamaica Conference Center those years ago, who were not touched by that. And afterwards, there was a hugging, a holding, a recognition, and a release from that. So I think and the Christian church has shown the way that we recognize historical things, and out of that, I think, therefore, healing came and relationship was restored, and the possibilities now for the rest of it, the trade, the culture, the exchanges of education of the church working with each other in different ways to build the gospel, to send the gospel, and to build the kingdom as much as we can manifest that kingdom. So I think reparations is already happening in that respect between Christian communities.
Indeed. Minister, Ambassador Miller, reparations, as we know, Ambassador, it is now very much mainstreamed. Would you like to indicate, if you can, is there anything current taking place, certainly from the point of view of where you sit in terms of Jamaica seeking reparations, or at least what discussions have been taking place in that regard, if you mind to share?
Thank you. Well, as you know, reparations and the matter of reparatory justice is very it's very much at the forefront of the agenda of Jamaica. In fact, through the Honorable Olivia Babsy-Grange, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, this has been a matter that continues to be advocated for on behalf of Jamaica. I should mention that ministry, the ministry that Minister Grange heads, there have been a series of webinars that have been organized on reparations and on other issues, which have allowed for a dialogue between Jamaica and African representative on various many issues. In fact, through that webinar, both Jamaica and African leaders, our own Prime Minister, they were able to celebrate virtually Africa Day this year. Reparations is also on the agenda of CARICOM. And earlier this year, the heads of government of CARICOM took the decision that there needs to be more sustained engagement with Africa on the matter of reparations. And so that process has already begun to have that engagement with Africa, and then before approaching Europe on the matter of reparations. And as, yes.
Finish your thought, Ambassador Miller.
No, and I was just going to support what Reverend Jennings said. And of course, within the context of the United Nations, that also provides another forum to have that discussion on reparations, especially as there is the observance of the International Decade of People of African Descent. We've also celebrated the 20th anniversary of the Durban Declaration. So there are many opportunities that can be used to advocate on the issue of reparations.
Have to leave it there this morning. Ambassador Janice Miller, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and Reverend Dr. Stephen Jennings, pastor, Mona Baptist Church and past president of the Jamaica Baptist Union. Thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts, and we really benefited from this discussion this morning. Stay with us, listeners. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Now with no processing fees and no down payment, it's time to open the door to your own sweet home. The time by JN Bank is
7:32 right here on Family Radio Love 101.
I say yeah, say cheese. Say cheese and keep on smiling. Oh, say cheese. Say cheese and keep on smiling. So much joy you bring, everywhere you're gonna, people have to smile. Say cheese, yes, say cheese. I just love you bring, everywhere you're gonna, people have to smile.
We are all champions. Stay strong, Jamaica. Happy Cheese Month from Tasty Cheese.
The first sound they make is to simply let the world know they're here. And then it's our duty to help them show the world why they're here in the first place.
Give them every advantage with the Guardian Achiever, a plan that provides for their educational dreams and protects their health and life in the process. For more information, call 888-4LIFE to speak to an advisor or visit myguardiangroup.com.
Hey my peeps, get this on the regular. Your HIV status if you consider. The least of a test once a year. Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Cause it might not show up on your timeline and you learn too late, so you're out of time. A progressive future, mandatory. Really long life, our story. You hear?
Remember, update your status in a real life. Go HIV test today.
Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Really long life, our story. Real long life for say youth. Coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Shake and go with true shake. Shake and go. Grab a true shake and go. When me have to put in the work, but I'm moving slow. Grab a true shake and go. School time and not joke time. Have to study hard, brain full time. Grab a true shake and go. When we up in the gym, we have to stay healthy and fit. Grab a true shake and go. Shake and go with true shake. Packed with 9 grams of protein, 24 key vitamins and minerals to keep you going. Grab a true shake and go.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I am your host, Stokely Marshall. Let's look at let's look at to see what we have in both major daily newspapers today. And we have here in the Gleaner online quite a number of stories there. And as you can imagine, before I get to that one, there is a very interesting story here. Indicom takes over police probe into trimming of Rastafarian woman in lockup. And we also have here cops in TikTok videos facing disciplinary action. And of course, as many listeners would know, Prime Minister announces new COVID hours. And we now turn to the Observer online. And what we have here, again, new COVID hours, yes. Weekday curfews have, there will be no more lockdowns in the weekdays, that is. And it is restricted to Sunday. We also have among latest news, Chauvin to be arraigned for alleged civil rights violation. Many persons would recall that this gentleman, Mr. Chauvin, Derek Chauvin, he was found guilty in relation to the death of George Floyd last year in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which led to massive social unrest in that regard. And another story similar to the one in the Observer, cops face disciplinary action and, in the Gleaner, cops face disciplinary action and remedial training over Skeng's gunman shift. And ISP climbs more than 35% to lead Jamaica Stock Exchange gains. Those and many other stories in both major daily newspapers today. And coming up next, we'll reface some of the feedback from our social media question, which is, do you think it was enough for Floyd Green to resign? What else, if anything, do you think should have happened? If you haven't done so yet, leave a comment on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp your comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
When everything is unpredictable, you go for what you can trust. That's why investors turn to blue chip companies. Jamaica, like the rest of the world, is caught between two possibilities: economic success or struggle. Many blue chip companies have a record of strong financial performance. Investing in these companies gives investors sound value and supports businesses which play a role in sustaining economic balance.
Visit barita.com/opportunities for more growth coach insights.
JN Money Card. Send the money. More withdraw in a hurry. JN Money Card free with your TRN and your ID. And when me no walk with cash, me just swipe like that. From abroad to card. Get the JN Money Card. It's safe, convenient, and free. JN Money Card sent from abroad. JN Money Card.
Available at JN Money locations across Jamaica. Conditions apply.
Did you know Breeze powder detergent is also antibacterial? Even after washing, bacteria can remain on your clothes, which can cause diseases. Breeze kills 99.9% of bacteria while removing even the toughest stains. So really clean your clothes with Breeze.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the second watch. And before we get into that, we want to take a quick look at what our friends said on social media in relation to the social media question, which again, do you think it was enough for Floyd Green to resign? What else, if anything, do you think should have happened? We have a few comments here, which I will read. For Floyd Green, every action, there is a consequence at this time. And this part of the comment, I'm not too sure what is meant, but I'll read it. And what the clause in the work agreement stated for action such as this. That is one comment. Another comment I have here, I wouldn't want him to resign, but it is about doing what is right, not just for you, but as an example to others and for your action. Well, those are the comments we have at this time. Now, in relation to the second watch, yes, Mr. Green, Floyd Green, there was a no movement day, as we all know. And Mr. Green had attended a small gathering, it would appear. And it is said, of whom much is given, much is expected. And so, of course, many in the country were shocked to see a particular viral video, which Mr. Green has not denied, and in fact, he did apologize for his being present and for his actions, and he did say that it was wrong. We have online this morning to discuss the Floyd Green resignation Carol Narcisse, civil society advocate and pastor of the Marvelate Gospel Hall, Reverend Napoleon Black. Good morning, Miss Narcisse. Good morning, Pastor
Good
Black.
morning to you and good morning to you and listeners, fellow guests.
I'm not sure if I'm hearing Mr. Well, I'm having a difficulty hearing both of you. Let me see if we can make a little adjustment to the technology in order to make that a little bit easier. It's a good thing. I'm not going to say that I'm the most tech savvy, but I will try to see what I can do.
We're all learning.
Okay, I don't know if we are a little bit better off here now. Okay, well, this may not be the best way to address the matter. Let me try again. Reverend Pastor Black? Pastor Black?
Hearing you very loudly.
I will make one more adjustment, and I'm hoping this one will work. Miss Narcisse?
Yes, good morning.
Okay, great. You both sound low to me, but I don't know if it is my end or your end or what, but we will carry on until we can hopefully resolve the issue. Starting with you, Miss Narcisse, how does all of this strike you? Here it is, especially against the backdrop of the fact that these were no movement days. And on one of those days, the relevant minister at the time, still a member of parliament, he did say he was wrong, but the way the video itself that was seen and some of the words that were indicated to have been said, and I'm maybe speaking a little bit cautiously because the matter has been referred to the police for an investigation. They are probing the matter, and I don't want to say anything to prejudice that. Notwithstanding, how does it strike you, Miss Narcisse? Are you still with us, Miss Narcisse? I'm not sure if you have. Yes, you're still with us, Miss Narcisse. How does it strike you?
I'm sorry, I got dropped there a minute. So if you would be so kind as to just repeat the question for me. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that question for me, please?
Oh, certainly. The question, it was a somewhat long-winded question, I would say.
I'm sorry, I got cut off.
But in a nutshell, how does that video strike you? How did it strike you? And I was being careful in how I couched the question because I am aware that the video has been referred or sent to the police for a probe to be done. And I didn't want to say anything to appear to prejudice that. Notwithstanding, how does it strike you, Ms. Narcisse?
Right. So it struck me as it did a significant proportion of the population that saw it, which is that it at its most benign, it displayed a level of insensitivity, a level of a lack of understanding of the moment and what the moment requires of us, both legally in terms of the established protocols and requirements in the context of the pandemic. So the distancing, the mask wearing, the limitation on numbers for gathering, etc. but also a lack of sensitivity to the fact that the rest of the population, for whom members of the group had made rules, it was disconcerting to see the breaking of those rules, and the sort of lavish, um, lavish approach when compared to the hardships that people are enduring.
Understood. Pastor Black, your thoughts?
Yes, sir. At first, I was wondering
Well,
what
actually, before you share your thoughts, Reverend Pastor Black, I think we need to take a break at this time. I'm getting a signal. Stay with us, listeners. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
If you got the first dose of the AstraZeneca and Pfizer vaccine recently, you may now be due your second dose. Please check your vaccination card and make your appointment for your second dose. Remember, you are not fully vaccinated until you have received the 2 doses. Visit moh.gov.jm or call 888-1-LOVE to make your appointment today. Let's get vaccinated and get back to life. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
There is an easy way for insurance coverage today with no line in your way. All you have to say is
Genac.com. Everything you have is everything you have. So keep your assets covered and save 10% off your insurance when you renew by visiting Genac.com. You don't need to go into a branch. You can do just about everything online at genac.com. Remember, smart insurance saves. Who knows what tomorrow brings? So future-proof everything.
insurance on the go. Trust the brand that you know.
genac.com.
All you have to say is Genac.com.
General Accident Insurance Company. Future-proofing tomorrow.
Welcome back to Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the second watch and we are looking at the Floyd Green resignation. And our guests are Carol Narcisse, civil society advocate, and Pastor Napoleon Black, pastor of the Marvelly Gospel Hall. Pastor Black, just before the break, you were beginning to make a comment. Please continue, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Are you back? Are you back with us, Pastor Black?
I am. Can you hear me?
We are hearing you, but you're a little bit low.
Yes,
But go ahead,
I'll
sir.
do my best. Yes, I was making the point that I was wondering if we were looking at 1789, Marie Antoinette let them eat cake to the populace, or maybe something of Animal Farm. More animal, some animals are better than others, and it left a horribly bad sting for most of us who were looking at it. And then,
Very low, Pastor Black. But I think I heard what you were trying to say. You're wondering
yes,
if this was a Marie Antoinette moment about let them have cake instead,
yes,
prior to the French Revolution in Europe,
yeah, absolutely,
or
yes,
an Animal Farm scenario
yes,
that many of us read in high school.
yes, yes,
Some people are more equal than others.
than others, yes. Hmm.
I see.
Hmm.
I see. Well,
And then that,
I want to make a point here, Pastor Black and Miss Narcisse. Uh, it wouldn't have been the first time that there was and again, I'm trying to use my words carefully, that there wouldn't have been the appearance of a breach of any rules that pertain to the population during COVID. And I'm saying it in that roundabout way deliberately because I know there's a police probe. I don't want to say anything to prejudice that. Where in the US, for example, persons on both sides of the political divide have appeared to be enjoying certain privileges when the rest of the population were told that they can't. So, Pastor Black, is it that you see this in a similar regard or similar light?
and more so because here is somebody who is making the rules. Here is somebody who is demanding that the rules be kept.
In his capacity as a parliamentarian.
Absolutely, and a member of government, of the executive in that sense, and then the tone of it, the partisan political nature, as we were hearing in some of the clips, made it absolutely despicable.
Well, I'm aware of one clip, but proceed.
Well, let's limit it to that then. In that regard, it made you just wonder what on earth is happening here, and why would you be coloring the conversation or the comments in that kind of part political cynical frame as well. Absolutely regrettable.
I see. Do you think the resignation was the way for the matter to be dealt with? Well, clearly it's his resignation, but is it felt, do any of you feel that there ought to have been a more grave consequence, subject of course to whatever comes of the investigation? But do you think that at this point in time there should have been something more grave that ought to have occurred? For example, should it have been that the prime minister relieved him of his duties as opposed to him having the option to resign? Miss Narcisse?
No, man. Well, a couple of things. One, the event occurred within a particular context, and we all know about what happens with the straw and the camel's back, right? So, whilst globally and locally, we've all been watching with much pain and regret the double standards that obtain in the world, where those who lead, not just here, those who lead and those who are in a socio-economically advantageous position seem to have one set of rules that apply to them, and then the rest of the population will get hauled and pulled by the police, arrested by the police, etc., for similarly breaking the pandemic related restrictions. So you see that more than once. After a time, one of them is going to be the subject of absolute and complete outrage. And this is what former Minister Green found, and his cohorts found themselves being that straw. Now, the issue of accountability immediately arose. What do people in positions of leadership, in roles that require them to be exemplars, etc., what should they do when they are caught out, when their actions are bring outrage to the people that they lead? Accountability, one of the actions of accountability is to accept responsibility and to recognize that you've compromised your position, and therefore one of the distinct options is to relinquish the position. It is very commendable, I think, that former Minister Green, and consistent with the character, because I think part of the outrage also had to do with people's disappointment that it was
He's a
who,
likable person. He's a
not
likable
just
person.
likable, not just likable, he has also conducted himself off on the political hustings, off the political hustings, and as a minister, in a decent manner, a manner in which he treats everyone, or seems to treat everyone, regardless of political affiliation, etc., with the required respect and dignity that they deserve. And so no one was expecting the level of really adolescent judgment that we saw. So his resignation was appropriate as a demonstration of accountability, and is to be taken as a big, fall from grace for him. And so some people are saying, the matter has been referred to the police. He should be treated the way others have been treated. I'm not into retribution as a form of justice. I think restorative justice is also a useful framework.
Understood. And in fact, we're having a little challenge hearing you, Miss Narcissus, but I think we got the gist of what you were saying. His anyone who took a look at any of the news items, certainly since yesterday, would have seen where some of his constituents were interviewed, and they were all, for the most part, looking quite sympathetic towards Mr. Green. Mr. Green is an attorney at law. I'm an attorney at law. I'm not a friend of Mr. Green, but I've always noticed his demeanor, always quite friendly, always quite courteous indeed. The video was quite shocking. Pastor Black, do you see any hope of a return of Mr. Green going forward? Is it that there is an expectation that he must spend some time not being visible for a moment and then return later? Or do you think there should be a hard line where this is it and he should just never return? What's your take on that, Pastor Black?
Well, others have said I shall return. Um,
And they did.
and they did to the very highest position in the land, eh?
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, I think to his credit, Mr. Green's credit, he didn't wait to be fired. And
Mhm.
I think it is absolutely to his credit that he says, listen, I'm aware of what
Yes,
I've done. Here is my resignation. I
yes.
also think, too, it's a part of the maturing of our democracy that we are insisting on higher standards in a more direct way from those who lead. And I think it is absolutely beyond the breaking of the camel's back by the straw, but an insistence from the populace that you who serve us should serve us properly. And it's a clear message. And it seems to me that Mr. Green got it, and those around him too seem to have gotten it. And that for me is important to our democratic process. Our servants are getting it, and it's important that that is so.
Yes,
As to
yes.
how much time he will
I do
need to,
wait to see. Sorry, I'm
yeah,
sorry, Mr. Black. Continue.
go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
I wait to see what comes out of any probe the police does, because a couple of things struck me. It is indicated that this activity took place within the confines of a hotel, my understanding. So arguably he wasn't in the public domain or public space. That might be an interesting point. I'm waiting to see what comes of the investigation. Certainly, Miss Narcisse, some of the points you made have been, well, we saw the video. There was
I,
no distancing, and I think some of those things would have really irked many persons. Miss
if
Narcisse,
yeah,
in terms of a possible return of Mr. Green, what is your how do you what's your thinking there?
Floyd Green has very, very valuable and good leadership potential and leadership skills, and so I think that at a later date, he's having some position that uses those skills, whether it's ministerial or other, yeah, because you don't only serve the nation as a minister. And he certainly has a big job still as a member of parliament. Let us not forget.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
I want to say that the context of hotel, it actually brings us an opportunity to look at the orders as they apply to hotels and Jamaicans who go to the hotels, because it cannot be that we cannot not social distance and create the conditions for spread outside of hotels, but if we go in hotels we can. That doesn't make any sense, because we're going to leave the hotel to return to our communities. So if it is that the hotels have a different order, including for Jamaicans, then we also have to look at the implications of that.
Very interesting. Wish we had more time. A lot of things to discuss here, but very interesting conversation we had. We wait to see what happens more on this particular topic. Miss Narcisse and Pastor Black, we're totally out of time. I want to thank both of you for being with us today. Very interesting discussion, and we thank you for your thoughts and for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the very
Indeed.
best.
And visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and other Love 101 FM programs. Listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app. Download it today and stay connected to us the #1 gospel station in Jamaica, the family station, Love 101 FM. This has been the Morning Watch. Have a blessed weekend and join Reverend Dr. Dallin Toussaint next week, Tuesday, as we look at other topical and controversial issues. And thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokely Marsh, handing it back to Love in the Morning with Neeson Williams.